Karen called 911 over a rare bird caused chaos, got fined and banned for prior abuse. What happens when one woman's obsession with control destroys a fragile piece of nature? In the heart of Willow Creek Nature Reserve, a sanctuary for the endangered azure warbler, a single phone call ignited a firestorm that no one saw coming. Karen Mitchell, a self-proclaimed concerned citizen, stood at the edge of a pristine forest clearing, her phone pressed to her ear, voice shrill as she demanded immediate action. "There's a dangerous animal out here," she shouted into the 911 line, her words slicing through the serene hum of the forest. The dangerous animal? A tiny, iridescent bird, no bigger than a child's fist, nesting quietly in a rare sycamore grove. Karen's call wasn't about protection, it was about power, and it was about to unravel everything. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the reserve as Karen's complaint set events in motion. She'd been visiting Willow Creek for weeks, each time growing more agitated by the park's strict rules to protect the azure warbler, a bird so rare its population teetered on the brink of extinction. Signs dotted the trails: stay on path, protect wildlife. But Karen didn't like rules. She didn't like being told where she could walk, what she could touch, or how she should behave. To her, the forest was her playground, and the bird was an inconvenience. That day, armed with a stick and a grudge, she stormed into the restricted grove, ignoring the signs, and began poking at the delicate nest perched high in a sycamore. Twigs snapped, feathers fluttered to the ground, and the warbler's panicked chirps echoed through the trees. Karen didn't stop. She swung harder, claiming she was saving the forest from a nuisance. By the time park rangers arrived, the nest was in ruins and the bird was nowhere to be seen. But the truth was far uglier than Karen's flimsy excuse. Rangers had dealt with her before. Karen wasn't new to Willow Creeker, to trouble. Months earlier, she'd been warned for trampling wildflowers in a protected meadow, claiming they were weeds blocking her view. Another time, she'd harassed a volunteer for refusing her demand to picnic in a restricted zone. Each incident was documented, each warning ignored. The rangers knew Karen's 911 call wasn't about a dangerous animal, it was a calculated move to deflect blame. She destroyed the nest out of spite, then called emergency services to paint herself as a hero. But this time, her actions had witnesses. A hiker named Mia, a quiet botanist who'd been studying the reserve's flora, had seen everything. Hidden behind a cluster of ferns, Mia recorded Karen's rampage on her phone, capturing every swing of the stick and every shouted justification. The footage was undeniable, and it was about to change everything. As rangers converged on the scene, Karen doubled down. "I'm protecting this park," she screamed, pointing at the shattered nest, as if it were evidence of her heroism. The rangers, led by a no-nonsense veteran named Officer Daniels, weren't buying it. Daniels, a woman with a deep love for the reserve and zero tolerance for nonsense, had seen too many Karens in her career. She demanded Karen hand over the stick and explain herself. Karen's response was a torrent of excuses. She claimed the bird was aggressive, that it lunged at her, that she had every right to defend herself. The crowd of onlookers, now growing, murmured in disbelief. Mia stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "I have it all on video," she said, holding up her phone. "The twist measures." Karen's face paled. She hadn't expected a witness, let alone evidence. The twist was a gut punch been caught, and there was no talking her way out of it. The confrontation escalated as Daniels played the video for the crowd. Gasps rippled through the onlookers as the footage showed Karen's deliberate destruction. The tiny warbler's nest, a marvel of nature, lay in pieces on the screen. Karen's bravado cracked. "It's just a bird," she shouted, but the crowd wasn't having it. A teenage boy, barely 16, pushed through the group, his face red with anger. "That bird's rarer than you'll ever be," he yelled, his voice breaking with emotion. The boy, a volunteer named Eli who'd spent months monitoring the warbler's nest, had tears in his eyes. The crowd turned on Karen, their murmurs growing into a chorus of condemnation. Eli's outburst was the unexpected spark that lit the fire. His raw passion for the reserve shifted the mood from shock to outrage. Karen, sensing the tide turning, tried to flee, but Daniels blocked her path. "You're not going anywhere," she said, her voice like steel. Karen's collapse was swift and spectacular. As Daniels detailed, the consequences destruction of protected wildlife carried a hefty fine and a potential ban from all state parks. Karen's defiance crumbled. She stammered, claiming she didn't know the bird was endangered, but the crowd's boos drowned her out. Mia's video had already spread online, thanks to Eli's quick thinking, and the internet was erupting with Karen versus the Warbler hashtags. The truth was out. Karen's history of disregard for the reserve's rules, combined with her latest stunt, painted a portrait of entitlement run amok. The Rangers uncovered prior complaints against her, from harassing volunteers to defacing signs, and the evidence was overwhelming. By the time the police arrived, Karen was sobbing, her carefully crafted image shattered. The fine was steep $10,000 for environmental damage, and the ban was permanent. Willow Creek, and every state park, was done with her. The forest fell silent as Karen was escorted away, the crowd dispersing with a mix of relief and sorrow. The Azure Warbler's fate was uncertain, but the reserve's community rallied. Mia and Eli led a group of volunteers to salvage what they could, carefully collecting the scattered nest fragments in hopes of aiding the bird's recovery. The incident sparked a broader conversation about respect for nature, with Eli's emotional plea going viral. "It's not just a bird," he said in a follow-up video. "It's a piece of the world we're losing because of people like her." The reserve saw an influx of donations, fueled by the public's outrage and inspired by Eli's passion. Karen's name became synonymous with reckless entitlement, a cautionary tale whispered across campfires. The community's resolve to protect the warbler grew stronger, a testament to the power of collective action in the face of destruction. What do you think? Does Karen's punishment fit her actions, or should the consequences have been harsher? Share your thoughts, and let's talk about how we can protect the fragile beauty of our world.